In La Cash family, once again, here we are at this gathering, been partaking in some new information, new knowledge, picking up where we left off last time. First thing and foremost, we want to go ahead and thank the ancestors and all the guardian spirits and energies that are around us, protecting us and filling us with light, knowledge, and wisdom. We want to give thanks to the 7 directions that give us the presence, and which will we speak on later. Today's lessons will be continuing from last lesson where we were learning about natural law. The importance of words, the logos, and how that plays a role in our everyday life. Now, our opening saying in Lakesh is an old saying the Maya would use, which meant you're another me. And that goes into playing into natural law and how we understand in natural law that what I do to myself or what I do to others has an effect on myself, no matter what that action may be. And what we mean by that is basically everything is interconnected. When you get into therapy, especially alternative therapies and medicines like in massage therapy, Reiki energy, there's such a law or principle known as transference of energy, which means whatever energy I have, I'm going to pass on to you, and whatever that energy that person has is going to transfer over to me. Now, in subtle aspects, this has a greater role than we might think of. It's almost like in the ripples of a lake or a river, on how if you drop multiple stones, these patterns, these waves, these frequencies, these energies will begin to embed on themselves. And basically, as humans, that's something that we're trying to do naturally, is make our auras larger and embed in each other, becoming that global family. Now, there's a lot of different social dynamics which make that a little more difficult, which is the reasons why we'll be partaking in this information and helping this information get out. So as we were saying, the importance of words, the logos and frequencies, and all that's interconnected. Now, one of the main things that we want to understand is that a lot of these principles have been proven through our modern day sciences, as well as that they've been kept up until the current time through ancestors that have been passing down that information through word of mouth, which was an ancient way of our ancestors keeping their history, which is the reasons why they used pictures in the past to pass down their information, because they were able to hold more knowledge. Even though as time passed, we learned that maybe writing down the written word helped us understand, but we'll come to learn on how that actually maybe had a bit of a role in not dumbifying, but definitely having to slow down the growth we might have already had that was in a different path, more of an implosive. instead of an explosive path, which we will be speaking in other lessons as well. Now, the importance of the word and the meaning, talking on how we were saying the ancestors and keeping those words to the present, have been altered a bit. And by them being altered or changed or denoted and connoted through time, changing the syntax of the words then, and the sometimes bringing about the things that surround our life. Because again, as we were saying, everything's interconnected. It was all one great big transference of energies. If we look at it into laws of science, there's the law that says no energy can be created nor destroyed. Now, speaking on that aspect, then that means everything that is and everything that has been is the energy that we have now and has always been. It's just rearranging itself. And as we go through different levels of growth, they purge different frequencies. Now, anger frequencies, hate frequencies, frequencies that are very primal in nature, that deal more with our primitive brain, reptilian, the more animalistic side that's more concerned with the basic aspects of Maslow's laws of hierarchies. These aspects of energies actually are energies that are very harsh and intense. And as you move up in energies, be it through meditation, be it through yoga, through consciousness, through knowledge, through learning about oneself, by raising those frequencies, you begin to purge those frequencies and you begin to understand the way our Mayan ancestors saw in Lakesh, you're another me. So therefore, if I do harm to you, I'll be doing harm to myself. Now, there is a bit of a key principle to this. As we were saying, everything is connected, everything is one. So therefore, if everything is interconnected and everything is one, then we would say there is a harmony. But as we can see in nature and in our reality, there seems to be a disharmony happening. Now, I do want to say, and not persist, but kind of insist, that there is really no chaos that's going to bring about an end, even though chaos plays a critical or a great role in creating new ideas, because it's only through chaos or going through something or experiencing something that has not been before can we come up with maybe something new as far as a new idea. Now, even though there's chaos, we can see that in nature there is a natural law that follows certain bases. And what we're talking about that is that we can measure this as we see in sacred geometry, which is an older principle of math that helped give growth to the geometries and the algebras we have now. But these sacred geometries really deal more with principles of ancient building, masonry, and also star reading, or measuring the stars, so therefore being able to navigate through the stars or by the stars, helping you get from one location to another without GPS, or more importantly, being able to grow plants or being able to harvest food in the right times without there being droughts or famines or any types of problems. So you see, our ancestors had many things they had to think about on top of the things that they were already creating. Now, the reason I say that is that nowadays we see that we experience certain problems, certain chaoses, certain harms, certain dangers. And I want to go on to say that basically these harms and these dangers, even though we don't justify them, we don't say that they're right, because as we can see through natural law, these aren't right. Because as we can see in natural law, because of the harmonies we have, the way a crystal grows, the way a rose grows, in the way that an animal is able to survive in nature, and another animal is also able to survive in the same nature, and not one outhunts the other or kills the other. One quick example that I will list is in Africa in the past, there was an incident where many antelope were dying, and scientists did not understand why these animals were dying. They're just finding them dead, even though there was plenty of food, plenty of water, and the numbers weren't dwindling on this animal. Now, through time, as they came to find out through research that the plant that the animals or the antelopes in particular were eating were actually causing the population of the plants to drop. And since there was a higher amount of antelopes, the plants learned how to be able to secrete a certain chemical onto their leaves to be able to cause the antelope to die, to be able to bring balance to the nature. Hence that natural law we're speaking of. Now, that natural law is very important because you could say that there might be advanced entities on a negative path that could use that to their advantage. Vice versa, a positive entity using that to their advantage to help someone heal, grow, or just in general help them grow in their own life so that they can become a healer of themselves or others. Now, negative entities, on the other hand, they can learn how to play the game, and basically through, be it entertainment means, or maybe you might take it as a joke, or maybe because they might have had a foundation in the development of a said person's thinking or society's thinking, then maybe they could get them to think in a certain way where when they spoke a certain way to them, in what I'm speaking is like, I'm going to do harm to you, but I do it in a movie and I put out a great like scene and everything, and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna end up creating this harm and taking this on, and I go watch the movie like, oh man, did you see that scene, or they're gonna destroy this and that. Lo and behold, later on, maybe something similar to this plan happens. Well then, but there's nothing wrong that could happen to that negative entity now, because, well, he let you know. And by him letting you know, he kind of got a backdoor into natural law to be able to be immune from any harm coming his way, or any danger, or any ramifications or justifications for what they did. Now, how this all wraps up into how we were speaking about the word and the logos is, maybe there is some foundational understanding that we have, and we feel we're saying something that has a certain weight and power to it. But in reality, when we speak it and when we get into the scholarship of it, it's actually opening us up to have problems or chaos in our lives, because we're not truly aware of what the syntax, the etymology, the connotation of the word that we are using. While in our mind, we think we're denoting something, while in reality, we're connoting it. And that connotation actually makes a justification for us to be able to be brought about into harm or danger. Because we willingly and at the same time in the way that invocation is to bring about, to manifest, to attract, to magnetize, then when I go out and I say a certain statement, which I might feel has certain weight and power behind it, and a lot of people should follow me with it, in reality, it's causing me to get more pain, get more problems, and get more into a situation where I can't remedy it as easily. And what I'm speaking on that is basically some of these terminologies that we might go out here using in society to be able to describe ourselves or to be able to give our identity to ourselves. But in reality, we're removing ourselves from the human family and placing ourselves in that of almost like cattle or sheep. Like entities, even though that does not really make sense right now, but as we will proceed with the lessons, we will see on how this happens, almost like a monster creature. Almost like a straw man in the Wizard of Oz, that he could walk around talking to everything, but he didn't have a brain enough to be able to understand that he didn't need a brain because he was already thinking. And when he understood that about himself, he was able to liberate himself from the prison he had created for himself. Now, at the same time, some would say maybe these negative entities doing this to humanity, society, our community might actually end up helping us advance or grow or evolve through their form of pressured growth. I personally don't really would agree with that, even though I see and understand that. I would prefer better a growth that is conscious and you're aware of. Rather than a growth that is forced on you. Because when a growth is forced on you, yes, you may learn from it, but it could also cause someone to break or go further down in a negative way. So as we said, the words that we speak sometimes might create so that an entity with the negative mindset might be able to use the natural law to their advantage by making, and the key to this is creating a foundational understanding that that being then uses to be able to describe themselves. And what I mean by that as an example is that you were born, let's say, an eagle, but your egg was raised by chickens. Then you would never really know that you were an eagle because you were raised by chickens. Not until maybe some eagles came down and you saw the similarities, maybe would you start thinking that you were of a different cut of garment or robe. So we go on to say the same thing sometimes when we go into speaking, especially words like Latino and Hispanic, and we try to say Latin history, Hispanic history. We got to understand that that does not actually tie into any actual nation, which ties into cultures and regions in the world that have been founded for thousands of years and have been growing in their own ways, and some still around till today. And as we will find out later, many of these did have civilizations with governments and many advanced forms of medicine and knowledge and education and schooling and growing and many different things that we will expound on. But as we speak right now, one of those things that also can call us to tie it into a certain situation where we'll be bringing harm upon ourselves is maybe when we use the term, as we were saying in Latin and Hispanic history, black history. Because the word black is really new to describing Aboriginal beings of a dark melanated hue.
If you look up the word black, first you put a time in it, and then you go to ME, and then you look at Middle English, and that means what? You're dealing with 1100s, 15s in that area? So already the scholar knows that black is not ancient. It doesn't even go past the 1100s. So when they're talking about the ancient black gods of Egypt, scholars know they're lying. But believers don't know better because they got the mentalities of boys and girls. You know, Pharaoh was black. Jesus was black. This is what a scholar knows. So you go to the Middle English, right, and you put a date on it. Then it traces to OHG. OHG is Old High German, and it means pale. See why they laugh at these people? It comes from the Paleolithic man. Negro Yavera Arebo, the animal used in the experiment that created what you call the caveman or Paleolith. And if you don't believe it, go into Oxford Dictionary, look up hybrid, then go look up troglodyte nigger, and then look up chimpanzee, and it'll give you history. And you ain't a caveman. And you're not Paleolith. Therefore, you're not black. The European is black man. It means caveman. All right, so let's go a little further. Now I'm going to show you all stuff. Pay attention.
Even though beings of many different hues and melanation have existed in many different parts of the indigenous world, the ones that they usually try to make us throw in a box or other beings in a box, which has to do more with Carlos Linnaeus and the history of science and taxonomy, which basically deals with classifying different beings, entities, plants. And the plan was to classify everything in the world through different nomenclatures, measurements, many different scientific things, which we will cover later on. But like I said, when we talk about black history, that does not speak about the Commission history, which we now may call African or Egyptian, or Ethiopian history, or Zulu history, or even going into other parts of the world. Aboriginal history, Mayan, Aztec history is not Latin or Hispanic history. And at the same time, this is our global family around the world. Even though we have different nationalities, creeds, beliefs, and understanding, we must be able to understand and come to the table to have dialogue, to understand each other, and be able to grow ourselves and balance in this environment and world we find ourselves. Because only through that way can we begin to actually provide ourselves a future we can be proud of and a foundation we can actually build on. And as I said, those terminologies as being able to describe ourselves are very important, because if we go out here and we start demanding certain rights, which are we as well need to analyze what that word means. But if we tie that into words like I said, Latino, or words that describe beings through their skin tone, or through maybe a history, but that doesn't really tie you in to the history we're speaking of. By using these words and chanting we want these rights, we might not actually be getting what we want, and we might actually be harming and damaging ourselves more into a position of being oppressed, manhandled, and used in ways we shouldn't be, because we are beings. But as I said, certain entities might have manipulated certain things into a position to be able to make it so that these things, not that they're right, but they're justified because the victim or the person that this atrocity is happening to has taken on the understanding that they will be sacrificed, even though they might not fully understand that they did. Now, nature does always, because of that natural law, try to provide answers and ways for us to remedy and grow and move from those paths. But it's only on to us to be able to be in the right mind frame and mindset to be able to listen or see these signs, omens, or maybe words from a loved one to be able to bring about or cause that change. Now, as we were speaking about natural law and understanding how that plays a bigger role in the things we manifest, the things we want to attract or magnetize towards us. And I want to magnetize and attract and provide for all of you out there that are witnessing and viewing this, as we believe there is no coincidences. Even though we can begin to make that argument, and by making that argument, we got to listen to that other person, and therefore both theories then have to hold truth to a certain extent. But personally, I feel there is no accidents, because if that were the case, then everything would be falling haphazardly, and we actually couldn't measure the heavens and the stars and have the counting systems of days and calendars we have to measure time. So we obviously do witnesses there's a harmony. So seeing that harmony, I want to provide and give, channel and send that harmony in your direction and all those around you to be able to help grow and understand more about this aspects that we are living today, because there is more weight to the words we use every day in what we attract to our path, our growth, our knowledge, our understanding. So I personally want to thank and give honored homage and honor to all those master teachers, those ancestors, those beings that have come before us, providing this knowledge, holding on to this knowledge, which a lot of was lost because of people burning, pillaging, wars. And wars causing destructions of cultures because of that hatred and animosity. So therefore causing a lot of change in our society, bringing about the modern day. But it's not to say that we can't take what we have in our modern day, because it has been founded on some principles and understanding of natural law to be used in a way to create our own remedy and growth. So for today's lesson, as we spoke about natural law, next time we will speak further on how this has an implication on our health, our genetics, and more into law, finance, and history on how these things changed and came about. But as I said, for today's lessons, in Lakesh family, you are another me in this global gathering. I want to give thanks again to the 7 directions and the ancestors that are present and here with us, providing growth, understanding, love, bliss, and prosperity your way. May we grow together, and just some more things to consider.